Hi and welcome to PodpadStudios on this freezing cold morning. I'm keeping my hat on. It's too cold to take it off. Got the heaters turned up so it'll get nice and warm soon. But anyway, right, so questions. We've been asked loads of questions, specifically about the fire engines, our ARFF's foam system. How did we build it? Is it scalable? And basically the question has come from 1/14th scale model truck builders, several people that want to basically build a smaller version of what we've built, a 1/14th scale. And they've asked me specifically, does the foam system, would it work in a 1/14th scale, the system that I used? So I'm going to try and answer that question as briefly as I can. You know what I'm like, I rabbit on a bit, but to show whether that could be actually scalable or not. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to draw a picture. So as you can see, this is about the foam system that we have on our ARFF. How does it work? Well, it starts with a water tank. We know that. So I'll come back to the size of the water tank because that is really important. But for now, a water tank. The water tank outputs to a pump. And that pump basically pumps the water from the tank into the system. The system that it pumps it into, okay, here we go. We pump it into a thing called an eductor. Now, an eductor, as I've explained, as you've seen in sort of the previous videos, is a device that basically looks like that. Now, what the eductor does basically is the fluid flows through it, it narrows to this point here, and then it widens out again. So it changes the pressure, changes the velocity, changes the speed, whatever technical term you want to use. It slows the liquid down. But in the process, when it hits this little narrow bit here, it creates a vacuum, and that vacuum can suck things up into the liquid flow. Now, that's really important. Now, what we've done, instead of just using the vacuum to pull up the foam concentrate, because basically what we want to do is take the water and mix it with our foam concentrate to create foam. We've done something a little bit different. So what we've done is we've created, I'll draw another one down here. This is our foam tank. And this contains the foam concentrate. Now, instead of just using a vacuum to pull the foam from the foam tank into the eductor, we have a pump. And connected to that pump, linking in with this, we have a solenoid. So our system looks a little bit like that. Now, the way this works is that, let's use a different colour. The way this works is that our water flows from our pump through our eductor, and out the other side. That's our water flow. Our main pump is only dealing with water. Our foam pump is dealing with foam concentrate. It comes from our foam tank, goes through our foam pump, goes up through the solenoid. The solenoid allows us to switch on or switch off the foam mix. And that then comes up into the eductor and it mixes with the water. So we now have a water foam concentrate mix. That then could output to the nozzle. Problem is, you need three elements to get this foam to work. You need the water, you need the foam concentrate, and you need air. What the air does is when it's pushed into the mixture, it agitates it all and it creates the foam. Otherwise, you don't get foam. You just get a kind of a soapy liquid coming out of the end. So how have we done that? So what we've done here is the output from here goes into another eductor. Now this eductor, there we go, and then it outputs there. So there's another eductor here now. So we've got the foam mix now is going through here. It's flowing through here, this eductor, and out of here. And remember, this is a foam concentrate mix. What we're doing with this second eductor is injecting air. And that air is coming from an air pump. And that is going through a metering valve. So that valve can control the flow of air into this chamber. So what happens in this chamber, we are now agitating the mix. The mix is now not flowing, it's becoming a bit swirly when it comes out of there. That then comes out of there and goes into the nozzle where it's sprayed. And that, in essence, is our system for the foam. Now, there are a couple of things you want to bear in mind. Obviously, we've got cut-off valves at certain points, or rather one-way valves to stop things flowing back. Obviously, one-way valves here and here to stop liquid obviously going into the air and water coming into the foam. And we have cut-off valves or quick release valves here and here, again, to try to keep the air where we don't want it out of the system, because bubbles they can work to your favour, because they can also decrease the pressure. Now, that in essence is the system that we use. And herein lies the problem. The real systems, the real fire engines, this pump might be working at, I don't know, 100 psi, which is high pressure. By the time it gets to here, it might be at 50 psi. Well, so what? It doesn't really matter. You've lost half, but there's plenty to play with. There's plenty of pressure to play with. Our system only just works, and the reason it only just works is because our water tank, we have a water tank of approximately 10 litres. That's our water tank. That means I can use a pump that's pumping approximately 5 litres of water a minute. Now, the pump and the relationship between the water tank is very, very important. We can't increase the power, the pressure of the pump, unless we have more water flowing through. So yeah, we could use any size pump we want. We could use a massive pump that gives us 100 psi, and this would all work brilliantly. But we need a water tank that's big enough to be able to feed this pump. And therein lies the problem. On a 1/6 scale, I have two 10-litre water tanks. Obviously, one deals with the water system, one deals with the foam, carrying 20 litres of water. That's 20 kilograms of water that the model's got to carry and find space for. And obviously, with a 5 litre a minute pump, I deplete that water supply in 2 minutes. So you can see the problem. Not so much of a problem because it's in proportion with the real ones. Real ones carry 20,000 litres of water, can get rid of 10,000 litres of 10,000 litres of water a minute. So it's about the same, about 2 minutes before the water tank is depleted. Let's scale this down now to basically 1/14 scale. Can you see the problem? The problem is here. The biggest water tank you're probably going to get on a 1/14 scale is going to be a 1 litre water tank. Not 10 litres, 1 litre. I mean, you might be able to get bigger. I don't know. But from the scales and the things I've looked at, 1 litre water tank is going to be the biggest you can get. Which means there's no way you can use a 5 litre, 10 litre, 20 litre pump per minute. You want more than 3 seconds of water coming out. Let's say you go for a 1 litre pump, 1 litre a minute pumping there. You get 1 minute. You get 1 minute before that water tank is empty. But your PSI is certainly not anywhere near 100 PSI like the real ones. If anything, you might be generating 0.5, 0.3, 0.2 of a PSI. As you go through all of these things, you lose pressure. All of these things are like obstacles in the way of the water flowing. As it goes through the adductor, the pressure decreases. Yes, it goes back to normal speed, but when I say normal speed, it loses pressure basically. So you can see all these things are like fences in the way of the water trying to flow through. So if you've got virtually no pressure going in at the beginning, once you've mixed all this stuff, the water is just going to trickle out the nozzle. There's going to be no stream of water that's significant. So the question is, if you could get a big enough water tank, you can get a big enough pump in there, this system will work on any scale. But therein lies the problem, the physical size of the water tank, the physical size of the pump. Obviously, the bigger the pump you use, the more power you need. So if you're running something like 6 volts or a little 7.2 LiPo, it's just not enough power to run this. So hopefully, quick whirlwind tour, that explained how the foam system works and what we're doing. As I said, it only just works on 1/6 scale. I would like to get more foam from the system, and this is a critical part of it, getting the air in and getting the air in at the right point, and also the nozzle design is really, really important. I'm not really going to go into that, but basically our nozzle design has a system that the water comes out of holes like that. So the water flow comes through but it can also go out the sides, and then it hits a shroud that does that. That then deflects the water and moves it forwards, or the spray. So the nozzle design is really, really important as well to the whole system. Scale is also important. Water doesn't scale. We don't have a 1/6 or 1/14 version of water. Water is water, and therein lies the problem. Water mass, they don't scale. Always been a problem for filmmakers to make things at scale look like the real thing if they're using water or, you know, things like that. And at the same time, you know, you don't want too much foam, or you don't want too many bubbles, which is the worst thing. Once you put the air in, you can end up blowing bubbles. So you end up with a bubble machine, not spraying water, which might be good in certain situations, but doesn't look that cool when it's coming from a fire engine that's meant to be squirting water, and all of a sudden it puts out loads and loads of bubbles. So there you have it. I'm going to shut up now. That's hopefully answers the question. Can you scale this to 1/14 scale? My answer to that is good luck.